Jungkook, wait for me. A small boy with bright eyes and messy brown hair ran across the garden, his laughter ringing like wind chimes. His shoelaces were untied, his sweater was too big, his cheeks were flushed pink from the cold. Wei, came Taehyung, the only person Jungkook had ever loved. You're slow, Jungkook teased, pretending to run faster. We stopped, crossed his arms, and pouted. You promised you wouldn't leave me behind. And Jungkook had answered without hesitation. I never will. They were 10, too young to understand fate, too innocent to know promises sometimes break. The rain had always sounded like grief to Jungkook. Soft, persistent, unending. It tapped against the large glass windows of his office, tracing invisible lines down the city skyline. Seoul was alive outside, cars rushing, people moving, lights blinking, but inside his chest, everything had been frozen for 15 years. 15 years since that night. 15 years since the car accident. 15 years since we disappeared. Jungkook, you can't keep doing this. His mother's voice echoed in his memory, gentle, worried, exhausted. He sat behind his massive desk, CEO of Jeon Industries, at just 28, yet he still felt like the 10-year-old boy standing outside a hospital, waiting for someone who never walked out. They're gone, Jungkook, his mother had whispered back then, but he had refused to believe it. Because they never found V's body. Not him. They said the car crashed into the river during heavy rain. They said V's parents died instantly. They said the current was too strong. But Jungkook had searched the riverbank for days. He had screamed V's name until his throat bled. He had waited. And he was still waiting. Another proposal came today. Jungkook didn't look up from his documents as his older brother, Min Yoongi, known to most as Suga, leaned against the door frame. I'm not interested. You didn't even ask who. It doesn't matter. Yoongi sighed. Mother is worried. She shouldn't be. You're almost 30, and you can't live in the past forever. That made Jungkook finally look up. His dark eyes were cold, but beneath that, Yoongi saw something fragile. I'm not living in the past, Jungkook said quietly. I'm waiting for my future. Yoongi didn't respond, because he knew who that future was. We. They had been 10 years old. We had always hated regular milk. He would scrunch his nose dramatically and say, it tastes like sadness. But strawberry milk? He loved it. Jungkook would always buy 2 cartons after school. They'd sit in the small garden behind Jungkook's house, the one with the old wooden swing and the cherry blossom tree. Promise me something, we had said once. What? If I ever disappear, you'll come find me. Jungkook had laughed. Where would you go? We smiled, that soft, boxy smile that made Jungkook's heart do strange things even at 10 years old. I don't know, but promise, I promise. Jeon Enterprises stood tall in the center of Seoul, powerful, intimidating, successful, just like its CEO. But power meant nothing when your heart was stuck 15 years in the past. Next applicant, HR announced. Jungkook barely glanced at the file in front of him. Name, Kim Taehyung. Age, 27. Applied position, marketing strategist. He almost didn't look up. Almost. Good afternoon, the applicant said. And Jungkook's world tilted. The voice, soft but deep, warm like autumn. He slowly raised his eyes. Brown hair, gentle gaze, sharp nose, a beauty mark near his lip. His breath caught. Not possible. Not. Mr. John? Jungkook blinked. Focus. It wasn't him. It couldn't be. But the resemblance? What makes you suitable for this position? Jungkook asked, voice controlled. Taehyung smiled politely. I'm hardworking, I learn quickly, and I really need this job. There was something in his tone. Loneliness. Jungkook's hands trembled under the table. What's your favorite drink? He suddenly asked. The HR manager looked confused. Taehyung blinked, surprised. Strawberry milk. The room felt smaller. Jungkook swallowed. And your favorite food? Kimchi, especially homemade. The air left Jungkook's lungs. No, it was coincidence. It had to be. He quickly closed the file. You're hired. HR stared at him. Sir, but you'll work as my personal typing assistant. Taehyung looked surprised. I applied for marketing. This position pays more. Silence. Taehyung bowed slightly. Thank you, sir. As he left the room, Jungkook's chest tightened painfully. Those eyes. They had looked at him once before. In a garden. Under rain. Saying, don't leave me. That night, Jungkook stood alone in the childhood garden. The swing still creaked softly in the wind. The cherry blossom tree had grown taller. He held 2 cartons of strawberry milk in his hands. His voice trembled. If this is some kind of cruel joke, he whispered into the night, I won't survive it. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in 15 years, hope hurt more than grief. He grabbed the old wooden box from his drawer. Inside were memories frozen in time, a broken bracelet, a photograph of 2 boys covered in mud, and a small milk bottle cap. Strawberry flavored. Jungkook whispered into the dark. If it's you, come back to me. When Taehyung started working, Jungkook found excuses to keep him nearby. Type this. Stay late. Come with me to the meeting. And every time Taehyung laughed softly at something, Jungkook's heart cracked. It was the same laugh. But Taehyung looked at him like a stranger. No recognition. No flicker. Nothing. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't imagining it. The similarities were too precise, too specific, too painful. If this was fate, then fate had a cruel sense of humor. Because if Kim Taehyung was truly V, then why didn't he remember him? And if he wasn't, why did Jungkook feel like his heart had just come home? Jungkook had told himself he would keep distance. Professional, cold, unaffected. It lasted exactly 3 hours. Taehyung sat at the desk just outside Jungkook's glass office, fingers flying across the keyboard with surprising rhythm. He typed the way he used to draw as a child, brows slightly furrowed, tongue pressing gently against the inside of his cheek when concentrating. Jungkook watched through the glass more than he should have. It was dangerous. Every small habit felt like someone reopening an old wound. One evening, while they worked late, Jungkook asked casually, where have you spent your childhood? Taehyung's fingers paused on the keyboard. I don't really remember, sir. I was told I was found after a car accident. I lost my memory. I grew up in an orphanage. The world tilted. A car accident. 15 years ago. Jungkook's pulse roared in his ears. Which orphanage? Taehyung hesitated. The one in Busan. I don't remember much before that. Busan. That's where V's accident happened. Jungkook could barely breathe. That night, Jungkook couldn't sit still. He drove to his brother's studio unannounced. The music inside stopped when he entered. Sugamin Yoongi looked up from behind his soundboard. You look like hell, Yoongi said calmly. I need your help. Yoongi leaned back in his chair. That sounds something serious. Jungkook didn't smile. There's someone at my company. Yoongi raised an eyebrow. And he reminds me of V. The room went quiet. Yoongi's expression changed, slightly subtle but noticeable. Don't, Yoongi said immediately. Don't do this to yourself again. You're not a child anymore, Jungkook. I know what I saw. Or what you want to see. Jungkook's jaw tightened. He likes strawberry milk. Yoongi coughed lightly. Half the country likes strawberry milk. He prefers homemade kimchi. Yoongi didn't respond. He was found near a hospital 15 years ago after a car accident. That made Yoongi sit up. What? Yoongi's eyes darkened. You think he's we? I don't know, Jungkook admitted. But if I'm wrong, I need to know. And if I'm right. His voice broke. Yoongi stood slowly. Give me the details. Yoongi had always trusted facts more than emotions. Facts didn't tremble. Facts didn't cry. Facts didn't hope. But ever since Jungkook walked into his studio with shaking hands and whispered, I think he's we, Yoongi had felt something dangerous stirring inside him. Hope. Jimin and Taehyung were living together while they adjusted their lives after Orphanage. Jimin opened the door when Yoongi arrived. You must be Jimin. The blond boy blinked up at him, sharp eyes, protective posture. And you are? Min Yoongi, Jungkook's brother. Jimin stiffened slightly. Taehyung's boss? Is something wrong with Taehyung? Yoongi noticed that instinct, immediately the defensiveness. You care about him. Jimin's jaw tightened. He's my family. I need to ask you something important, and I need you to be honest. Jimin studied him carefully before nodding. Fine. How long have you known Taehyung? Yoongi asked. Jimin didn't hesitate. Since we were kids. How old? 11. Yoongi's pulse skipped. That was 15 years ago. Jimin nodded slowly. Yes. Yoongi leaned forward slightly. Tell me everything. Jimin exhaled. We grew up in the same orphanage. I had already been there for 2 years when they brought him in. He looked down briefly, as if replaying the memory. He didn't speak much at first. He used to sit near the window and just stare at the rain. Yoongi swallowed quietly. What did they tell you about him? Jimin's voice softened. The hospital said he had been in a very bad accident, a car crash. They said he was found unconscious and brought in by emergency services. Yoongi's fingers curled slightly. How long was he hospitalized? A year, Jimin replied. He was in a coma for almost 12 months. Yoongi's eyes widened. A year? Yes. Jimin nodded. When he finally woke up, he didn't remember anything. The words settled heavily between them. No parents, no name, no past. Yoongi's voice dropped. They gave him the name Kim Taehyung? Yes, Jimin confirmed. Because the hospital couldn't find any relatives to claim him. Yoongi's heart pounded steadily now. Did he ever talk about memories returning? Sometimes, Jimin admitted, he'd have headaches, flashbacks, especially when it rained, but nothing clear. Yoongi felt cold. Did the hospital say where he was found? Jimin hesitated. Yes. Yoongi leaned closer. Where? Near a riverbank. The world seemed to narrow. Riverbank, Yoongi repeated quietly. Jimin nodded. They said someone found him there 15 years ago. A man walking near the water saw a child lying unconscious. He called the hospital immediately. Yoongi's throat tightened. And no one came looking for him? Jimin shook his head slowly. They waited for months. No family, no reports matching him. Yoongi's voice became almost a whisper. Do you know which hospital? Jimin nodded. Seoul Central. Yoongi didn't waste time. He drove straight to Seoul Central Hospital, the same place connected to the accident 15 years ago. After several tense minutes, a middle-aged records officer returned with a file. This might be what you are looking for, she said. Yoongi opened it carefully. The date hit him first. 15 years ago. Highway accident reported the same night. His breathing slowed deliberately. The report read, male child found unconscious near Han River bank by civilian. Approximate age 10-11 years. Severe head trauma. Hypothermia. No identification except metal bracelet engraved with letter V. Yoongi's hands trembled slightly. Was he brought here directly? He asked. Yes, the officer replied. He was in critical condition. We performed emergency surgery. How long was he unconscious? 11 months and 3 weeks. Yoongi closed his eyes briefly. Almost exactly a year. What happened when he woke up? The officer scanned further. He exhibited retrograde amnesia. Could not recall name, parents or address. Police attempted identification but no matching missing person report aligned. Yoongi's chest tightened painfully. Because he knew why. The accident report from 15 years ago had listed V as deceased, presumed lost in the river after the crash. His parents had died on impact. Search teams had focused on the wreckage, not the water. If V had been thrown from the vehicle and drifted toward the river bank, he would have been presumed gone. After 3 months with no claims, the officer continued, he was transferred to an orphanage under the name Kim Taehyung. Yoongi slowly asked the final question. Do you have any belongings recorded? The officer nodded. A metal bracelet engraved with V. Yoongi exhaled shakily. The details matched exactly. The accident, the date, the river, the bracelet, the coma, the amnesia. There was no doubt left. Kim Taehyung was V. Yoongi stepped outside the hospital into the cold air. His hands felt strangely numb as he pulled out his phone. He dialed Jungkook. The call connected almost instantly. Hyung, Jungkook's voice was tight. Yoongi didn't soften it. It's him. Silence. Then, are you sure? Jungkook whispered. Yes. Yoongi's voice was steady now. He was found near the river bank the night of the accident. Severe head trauma, coma for almost a year, bracelet engraved with V. No one claimed him. He was sent to the orphanage. On the other end of the line, Jungkook stopped breathing. The dates match, Yoongi continued. Everything matches. A shaky exhale came through the phone. So, Taehyung is V, Yoongi confirmed quietly. There was a sound Yoongi had never heard from his younger brother before. A broken sob. 15 years of restrained grief finally collapsing under the weight of certainty. He survived, Jungkook whispered. Yes. Yoongi looked back at the hospital building. He survived, and he's been right in front of you. Later that evening, Yoongi returned to the cafe. Jimin was there. He looked up anxiously. Well? Yoongi stood in front of him. You were right. Jimin's breath caught. The details matched the accident from 15 years ago. Taehyung is someone's lost child. Jimin's eyes filled immediately. He always felt like he was missing something, Jimin whispered. Yoongi nodded. He wasn't missing something. He looked at Jimin carefully. He was missing someone. Jimin wiped his eyes roughly. I grew up with him, he said. We shared the same room, same food, same fears. If he leaves... Yoongi interrupted gently. He's not leaving you. Jimin looked up. You're his family, Yoongi said firmly. That doesn't disappear just because he remembers. Jimin's shoulders slowly relaxed. Good, he muttered, because I'd fight anyone who tries to take him. Yoongi almost smiled. You sound like Jungkook. For 15 years he had begged the universe to return V. Now the universe had. but without his memories, without knowing him, without remembering the promise. Jungkook laughed suddenly, but it broke into a sob. He was alive, he choked. All this time he was alive, but he doesn't know who he is. Jungkook's eyes hardened. Then I'll remind him. The next day, Jungkook called Taehyung into his office. Taehyung entered, smiling gently. You wanted to see me. Jungkook locked the door. Taehyung blinked. Sir? Stop calling me that. Taehyung froze. Do you remember anything before the accident? Jungkook asked, voice trembling. I told you, no. Not even a name? Taehyung's heartbeat quickened. No, not even. We? The room went silent. Taehyung's vision blurred. The letter echoed in his mind. We. His hands began to shake. I don't. Jungkook stepped closer. You used to call me Cook. Taehyung stumbled back. Stop. We had a garden, a swing. You hated milk but loved strawberry milk. You would cry if I didn't share my kimchi. Stop. Taehyung clutched his head. Flashes. Pink petals falling. A boy running. Laughter. Rain. Then rain crashing against glass. A car is spinning. Screams. Fire. A small hand gripping his tightly. Don't leave me, Jungkook. He gasped loudly, clutching his head. Jungkook rushed forward. It's okay, it's okay. Taehyung stumbled back, breathing uneven. How do you know that name? He cried. Jungkook's eyes filled with tears. Because you were my home. Silence shattered. Taehyung stared at him, confusion and fear battling inside. I I don't remember. Jungkook stepped closer but gently. I know. His voice softened. You hated tying your shoelaces. You used to cry when it rained. Tears streamed down Taehyung's face without him realizing. And you promised you wouldn't leave me, Jungkook whispered. Something inside Taehyung cracked. A memory pushed through. Two boys under a tree. Pinky fingers intertwined. I never will. Taehyung staggered forward. Jungkook, the way he said it this time. Not formal.
Not distant, familiar. Jungkook's heart stopped. Say it again, he breathed. Tears blurred Taehyung's vision. Jungkook? The name felt right, like it belonged to in his mouth. Jungkook closed the distance and gently held his shoulder. You survived, Jungkook whispered, voice breaking. You survived, we. Taehyung's lips trembled. Taehyung's lips trembled. I don't know who I am. You don't have to remember everything today, Jungkook said softly. Just let me stay. Taehyung's eyes searched his face. There was no manipulation, no force, just love. 15 years of it. And something deep inside Taehyung responded. He stepped forward slowly, rested his forehead against Jungkook's chest. Jungkook froze. Then carefully, like holding something sacred, he wrapped his arms around him. And for first time in 15 years, the rain inside Jungkook's heart stopped. It rained that night. Jungkook decided to take him back. Taehyung stood near the window of his apartment, watching the droplets slide down the glass. Rain always made his chest feel tight, like something unfinished was trying to breathe inside him. Behind him, Jungkook quietly put his coat on. Come with me, Jungkook said softly. Taehyung turned. Where? To the place where you promised you would never leave me. They drove in silence. City lights flared past them. Taehyung felt nervous, not scared, just unsettled, like standing on the edge of memory that refused to open. Why does rain make me feel like I'm drowning? Taehyung asked suddenly. Jungkook kept his eyes on road. Because the last time we saw rain like this, it was night where everything ended. Jungkook's eyes were steady. Not desperate like before, not frantic just. They stopped in front of large iron gate. Beyond it stood an old house with warm yellow lights glowing through the windows. Taehyung stepped out of car slowly. The scent hit him first, wet glass, soil. Something familiar. Where are we? He whispered. Jungkook walked to the gate and pushed it open. Our house. Taehyung blinked. Our house? Our childhood. The garden was smaller than memory usually makes things, but it was still there. The old wooden swing, the stone pathway, the large oak tree in center. Taehyung's breathing grew shallow. I knew this place, he whispered. Jungkook did not say anything. He just watched, letting the silence do its work. Taehyung walked slowly toward the oak tree. His fingers brushed against the rough bark, and suddenly a flash. Small boys carving something into wood, laughing. You're spelling it wrong. I'm not. V plus JK forever. Taehyung gasped and stepped back. His heart slammed violently against his ribs. Jungkook? His voice shook. Jungkook approached carefully. What do you see? I. Taehyung pressed his hand to his temples. Two boys under his tree. Jungkook's eyes filled with tears. That was us. The window moved through the leaves above them. Taehyung turned toward the swing. His legs moved without permission. He touched the rope. It felt worn, familiar. Another flash. You're pushing too hard. Stop being dramatic, V. Laughter, bright, carefree. Taehyung staggered. His knees nearly buckled. Jungkook caught him instantly. The contact center shook through both of them. Why does it hurt? Taehyung whispered desperately. Why does remembering feel like breaking? Because you buried it to survive. Jungkook answered softly. Your mind protected you. Tears slipped down Taehyung's face. Did I love you? The question was barely audible. Jungkook froze. The vulnerability in it shattered him. You did, Jungkook whispered. He gently lifted Taehyung's hands. You loved me before you even understood what love meant. Taehyung's chest tightened painfully. Why does it feel like I'm meeting you for the first time and coming home at the same time? Jungkook smiled through tears. Because love remembers when the mind forgets. They walked toward the old stone bench near flower beds. Taehyung stopped abruptly. His breath hissed there. The memory came sharper this time. He was sitting there, crying, Jungkook kneeling in front of him. Don't cry, I'm right here. Promise you won't leave. I promise. Taehyung's knees gave out. He collapsed onto the grass. The pain was overwhelming now, like a dam breaking inside his chest. Jungkook knelt in front of him, just like in the memory. Look at me, Jungkook pleaded softly. Taehyung looked up, and this time he did not see a stranger. He saw the boy from the flashes, older. But the same eyes, the same warmth, the same promise. You waited, Taehyung breathed. Jungkook nodded. I told I would. The words unlocked something deep, and then final memory crashed through. Rain, headlights, screaming metal, the parents shouting. Taeyong screamed as the memory completed itself. He saw everything. The accident, the hospital ceiling, the years of emptiness. His voice broke into sob. Jungkook? Not confused, not questioning, recognizing. Jungkook's entire body went still. We? He whispered. Taeyong crawled forward and grabbed his jacket tightly. I remember. He cried. I remember you. Jungkook's breath shattered. You hated math. You were scared of thunder but pretended you were not. Jungkook laughed and cried at the same time. You used to say I smiled like an idiot. Jungkook replied. You do. Taeyong sobbed, and then he threw his arms around him. This was not fragile anymore. This was not cautious. This was desperate. 15 years of separation collapsing into one moment. Jungkook held him tightly, tighter than ever had before. I thought I lost you, Jacob whispered against his ear. I was lost, Taeyong replied, but I was never gone. Rain began falling gently around them. Taehyung stiffened slightly. Jungkook pulled back just enough to look at him. Later that night, they entered the house. Mrs. Jeon stood in the hallway trembling when he saw Taehyung. She walked slowly toward him. "We?" she whispered. Taehyung bowed slightly out of habit, but then something pulled him forward. He hugged her gently. "I'm sorry. I disappeared," he said softly. She broke down in tears. "You came back," she whispered. "That's all that matters." Yoongi stood quietly near the stairs, watching the reunion. When Taehyung looked up at Yoongi gave a small nod. "Don't disappear again," Yoongi muttered. Taehyung smiled faintly. "I won't." Later, when the house grew quiet, Jungkook and Taehyung stood once more in the garden. The rain had stopped. The air felt clean. Taehyung slipped in his hand into Jungkook's naturally, like muscle memory. "Did you really wait for me?" he asked softly. Jungkook intertwined their fingers. "Every day." Taehyung's eyes shimmered. "You are stubborn." Jungkook smiled. "For you, always." Silence settled, not empty but full, complete. Taehyung leaned closer, not rushed, not unsure, and kissed him softly. That evening, Yoongi found Jungkook dancing inside. "You are wearing a path into future," Yoongi muttered. Jungkook ran a hand through his hair. "I want to ask him." Yoongi raised an eyebrow. "Ask him what?" Jungkook hesitated. "To stay." Yoongi stared at him flatly. "He already stayed." "No," Jungkook said softly. "I mean forever." Yoongi's expression softened just slightly. "Then stop pacing and do it." Jungkook looked suddenly younger. "What if he's not ready?" Yoongi shrugged. "Then you wait. You are good at that." Jungkook exhaled slowly. He looked toward the garden, toward the oak tree, toward 15 years of carved promises. Taehyung stood beneath the oak tree again that night. He had started coming there often, reminding himself this was not a dream. He heard footsteps behind him. He did not need to turn to know who it was. "You are quiet," Taehyung said. "I'm nervous," Jungkook admitted. Taehyung turned, surprised. "You? Nervous?" Jungkook walked closer. "There's something I did not do 15 years ago." Taehyung tilted his head. "What?" "I did not ask you properly." The wind picked up gently, moving through Taehyung's ears. Jungkook reached into his coat pocket. Taehyung's breath caught. "You were 10, Taehyung said softly. "What were you going to ask?" Jungkook smiled faintly. "I was going to ask you to marry me when you were 20. Taehyung's eyes widened. "You were insane. Still am." Jungkook stepped closer until there was barely space between them. "I lost you before I could grow up enough to ask for real." His voice trembled, not with the fear of rejection, but with weight of time. "I don't want to lose time again." He dropped to one knee. Not dramatic, not flashy, just honest. Taehyung's heart pounded so loudly he could barely hear the words. "I don't care what that we were kids," Jungkook continued. "I don't care that 15 years disappeared. I don't care that we have scars." He looked up, eyes shining. "I loved you then. I love you now. And I will love you when you are old and arguing about whose turn it is to water the plants." Taeyong let out a shaky laugh through tears. Jungkook opened a small box. Inside was a simple ring, engraved on the inside V plus JK. "Kim Taeyong," Jungkook whispered, eyes breaking silently. "Will you choose me again?" The word felt still. Taehyung saw everything at once: the accident, the orphanage, the loneliness, the waiting, the garden, the rain, and Jungkook every single time. He stepped forward, did not let Jungkook stay kneeling long. He pulled him up and kissed him first, harder this time, certain. When they parted, Taehyung rested his forehead against Jungkook's. Taeyong smiled softly. "Yes." Jungkook blinked. "Yes?" "Yes," Taeyong laughed. "I will marry you, idiot." Jungkook let out a breath that felt like it had been trapped since childhood. He slid the ring into Taeyong's fingers. It fit perfectly. as if it had been waiting to, the future they choose. Months later, rain fell again on their wedding day. Guests worried, decorations were moved, but Taehyung stepped outside anyway. Jungkook followed him. Rain touched their faces. Taehyung looked up and laughed. I'm not scared anymore. Jungkook wrapped his arms around him from behind. You don't have to be. Under this same sky that once took everything, they chose each other again, and this time nothing was missing.